Sarah Renee Langley. Thank you so much for tuning back, for coming back on. We really appreciate your time. And I have an amazing co-host as well as a special guest. She's a specialist that we're going to talk with today in regards to the talk, hashtag the talk. How do we talk to our kids about racism and the police? And look, just like we were talking about earlier, this is not the talk that we grew up on. This talk is, it hits different. It's different for this time right now. And that's why we want to bring on, a special guest, a great expert that's in the field so that we can know exactly what to look for, the signs and symptoms, when our kids are talking, when they're not talking. How do we help them? How do we help you out, parents, so that you can be at ease in knowing that you are doing your very best during these times on how to help your children in processing racism, the police, what to do. So thank you so much for tuning in. So we have Danny Robinson. Thank you, Danny, for coming back on.
Making it work.
We're making it work. We're making it work. And we have Tia. So we're going to make sure that Tia is joining with us. Tia Briscoe. Hi, Tia.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so glad we got it together and we're on now.
And I'm so glad that you put it. So I loved it. Thank you so much, Tia. I'm going to be funny with this. So when I saw your video go off, I was about to be like, okay, I was about to be like that emoji without the daggone thing. So I was like, I know this is gonna happen again. But I forgot that we already planned that ahead of time that I was gonna bring you on. That's when he's gonna pop on. So okay, hallelujah, glory to God.
No, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tia, for your time. The lovely Tia Briscoe from the lovely state of California. Please, can you let us know who you are, what you do, and we'll go right into it.
Yes, I am Tia Briscoe. That wonderful introduction on the last video, it was beautiful. But I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist here in Southern California. I specialize with working with a bunch of different things, but my love and joy, I don't know if you guys can even see behind me, I have a stack full of toys, but my babies are my pride and joy. I am a therapist for children from ages 2 to 17, with a specialty in 0 to 7 years old. But I have worked with the gambit of children. I had sessions this morning with a bunch of kids. So that is my specialty. I love it. It is wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tia, for that. Yeah. And everyone, thank you for joining in. So people giving thumbs up. They're so happy that we came back. I was going to say, my audience, some of them know that I'm from North Philly. So it's not just about saying that you're from Philadelphia. It's about, what section you're repping. And for some of you like Chaz, you know where we're from, North Philly. And I was like, okay, let me make sure I'm from there. Because you know how they say, you can take the person out, you can take Sarah Renee out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of Sarah Renee. So, but I have lovely beauties with me to help keep me sane. And it's not about me. Yeah. It really is about us now coming together on having this needed conversation about hashtag the talk. How in the world do we help our children, today's children, having this conversation about police, racism, and how to help you out, parents, because hey, you could be at your wits end and you're already dealing with, you're grappling with your own emotions. You're grappling with what do you do? How do you manage yourself? How do you maintain your composure? How can you make sure that you make it home safe? How to make sure that you're making home respectfully alive? Right. So we need to now get together and start having this conversation all week long to give you the tips, the strategies, the tools on how to help your children and having this conversation and processing it all. So thank you so much for y'all joining in and being a part of this conversation. We really appreciate it. And any questions or comments, please put in the comment section. I'm checking you out. So you make sure that you put in the comment section on your end, on Danny's end, on Tia's end. Y'all make sure y'all share this because sharing is caring. And who knows, you may just save a life in the process. So, and y'all know that I'm from North Philly because y'all banging. That's what we do. We just like, when it's really serious, it's like we just...
I'm from California, so we know we just as hard.
Look, she's from LA, okay? Or she's around LA, okay? So look, bringing it.
Yes,
And we're not gonna
we
forget
are
you
all
from
in
what?
it.
You from Jersey? What you represent?
Jersey. Don't play with Jersey. Dirty Jersey. Don't play with Jersey. Jersey, don't play.
Love it.
Jersey, don't play.
Okay,
We
so
from all the sides of the world.
look, we're professional and look, and we keep it real. Okay, so let's go right into the conversation. So Tia, my question to you is, and you working with children, like, what conversations are you having with them as a therapist? Like, what are they talking about with you? Like, how does it start in terms of having a conversation with the kids?
Yeah. So a lot of the conversations are coming up and as to what the kids are seeing on TV. I think that's the biggest thing. So you have kind of gaps of ages. So you have your toddlers and I call them the youngins. They're the small ones, your ages 0 to 6. Then you have your elementary age, middle school age, and then you have your high school age. So a lot of the time the younger kids are seeing it on TV and are starting to get really confused as to what's happening. And so I'll have parents kind of reach out to me and say, Tia, we don't know how to have this conversation with them because it's not the birds and the bees anymore. It's this conversation that's coming up more than anything. And so for me, my job, specifically depending on the child, is to kind of make it easier for them to understand. Or if they're older, I get a lot of what can I do? Like I'm not 18 yet, but I want to get out there and I want to march. I see my favorite rapper out there. Or in LA, a rapper by the name of YG did a huge march, and a lot of the teenagers wanted to go to it. So those are kind of the weird questions that I've been getting as to either what's happening or what can I do to be a part of it at this age. So that's how it's coming up in the therapy world. I see a lot of Black youth, a lot of African American youth, and they want to be a part of it. They want to be out there marching and protesting. And so I have to ask them, do you know what you're protesting for? So that incites a whole different answer and from all different ages.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you for answering that, because I
Mhm.
was looking at the memes. I was looking at the different, not just the memes. I'm looking at actual pictures of this woman. Like, so the one toddler who was on their dad's shoulders, and I see the picture of the police pointing their gun. And then there was a picture of one on the side. So you saw it on one angle, and then on another angle, I saw his little hands up. And it's like, what in the world? Like, what do you first tell the parent in regards to now being in that position, guns at you, your baby is raising their hands up? What do you say in helping the parents to deal with that emotion or their thoughts, whether they feel guilty for even having their child out there, to oh my God, what could have happened if something did happen to us, to my child, to myself? Like, I don't know and can only imagine what the parent was thinking, in that moment. But what conversation would you even have in helping that parent process that?
Yeah, and that actually happened in LA. That was a picture, well, kind of in LA. It was in Orange County. It was a officer who had supposedly wasn't pointing it at the child, but pictures tell 1,000 words, so we don't know. But I think with a lot of parents that saw that image, that's kind of the questionable issue that they have is it safe to take my babies out to these protests and do more? But I feel like the kids actually want to be out there. And so having the conversation about what peaceful protest looks like, we see, especially in LA, there's been car chasing and looting and all kinds of stuff. And the kids are getting really confused as to if that's protesting or what rioting is. I've had a lot of kids ask me, like, what's the difference? And so I think parents really have to educate, number one, why we're going out there, what we're doing in that space. 2, how do we stay safe out there? And 3, what you may see out there. If you so choose to take your children out there, you do have to let them know that there will be the possibility of guns being at the protest. You may see cops that look really angry that don't greet you at the protest. For my teenagers, they're starting to look more like adults, so they may be treated like adults at the protest, So I think just if parents are going to take their babies out to the protest, they need to kind of prep them. So give them a talk, not about bad police or anything about that, but just what these things look like. And I like to refer my kids back to like Selma, kind of giving them some of the background expound on that. Or the hate you give is another one that I give a lot of teenagers to kind of look at what it means to protest, why we protest. And so I think parents just really need to focus on education before they take them out into, you know, the field, if we say for so. So really just teaching babies, what are we out here for? What does it mean to go against racism? What you may see, just kind of the whole gambit, kind of prepping them before they go out there, if you're going to take them out there.
And really quick to you, just to chime in, I think that's an excellent point because, you know, just I think that's very similar to even like having the sex talk, like we're talking about, but we're having a different talk, right? But even having that sex talk about, you know, parents are like, well, what should I say? Should I talk about birds and bees? But it's about the education and building that foundation so they have an understanding about, you know, what to bring to the table. So that's an excellent point. I think that the education is the perfect foundation to start with, so they kind of know what are we talking about. Because like you said, from their perspective, you know, YG's doing it, it's kind of hot, it's on Instagram, let's go.
It's hot. Yes, and a lot of the rappers and things are going out there. We saw Michael B. Jordan, we saw Billie Eilish, you know, YG, Lauren London on behalf of Nipsey Hussle. So the teenagers specifically are seeing their idols out there and they're like, well, we need to do something too, but they don't know what they're stepping into. And I think it was really important. YG actually put out a Instagram post about why he was out there. And it was really, really positive. And you know, it wasn't just he's a rapper and he's out there, but he's also a Black man with Black children. So I think having that kind of explanation out there is necessary for especially our teenagers.
Right. I'm sorry, I got one more follow-up question. Just
Go for it.
So that,
I'm all yours.
Quick follow-up question. And I just wanted to ask, because I had a really good friend that had, you know, had the girls out, you know, had the family out, was really doing the process because they were interested building signs. But one of my questions is like when coming back and helping them process, do you have any like pointers and tips, I guess, of, you know, like their experiences may be very different from like a peaceful, positive protest to, you know, like what we're seeing with like gun pointed at. How would you recommend for those folks coming back home, how to process a little bit about what their experience was?
Yeah, I think for depending on the age, again, like I said, it varies through age. Your teenagers, they can kind of openly talk about what they saw, and just reminding them that this is the nature of the world today. As far as your older ones, this is why we're protesting. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see police guns pointed at people, at humane people. So this is why we protest. But also reminding them that if they're feeling that trauma, if something is coming up for them, that they have the outlet. You know, I always tell my parents, if you're going to have a kid protest, make sure that they're in therapy because they may see a lot of stuff that they may not want to see. And then for the younger babies, you know, again, they're not, depending on the age, racism is not really a construct for them just yet, especially if you're dealing with a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old. So it's not really a construct. But what you can kind of process with them is what they saw. Kids are very tangible. So if they see people who are, you know, I've been to protests where they have the pride flag up, you know, that's a conversation where the kid will say, well, Mom, what does that flag mean? So I think just being willing to be open about what they saw and then consistently having the conversation, you know, because it's not just a one and done conversation with kiddos because they go back and they think about these things a lot. So, and then as time goes on, they'll be a part of history. So I think just processing that, the feelings that may come up for that or what they saw, or if they felt like they were beneficial to the movement too, because they're out there because they want to be a part of it too. So, you know, how did they feel about being a part of the movement and all that good stuff? Just really processing those feelings. Those are really important because they are a part of history now.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So everyone, thank you, Tia. Thank you, Danny. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much for answering. We're gonna go a little bit deeper too, and I want to make sure that we are bringing in others and inviting them for any questions or comments. I just want to give shout outs to Antoine. Thank you. Antoine is actually going to be joining us on Friday, giving us from a male perspective as well in regards to his work in the field and working with kids, so that we can continue to have a conversation about the talk. How do we help our kids
with the babies? Yeah.
With the police and racism. So thank you, Chaz. We have LaDonna, we have Camilla, we have Trina. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We really appreciate it. So if you have any questions for Tia, please put it in the comment section. Hey, Danny, do you have any on your end? Any comments or or did we get to share it out?
I have shared. I haven't seen any but comments. So y'all get up on in the comments and see what you got.
So let's go deeper. So I was looking so bad. I was looking for this one meme. It happened, I think it was like created a couple of years ago. This is when I think like maybe in 2016, 2017. It was like back to back to back to back. We kept hearing and seeing the horror stories of Blacks being shot by police. And for no reason, for really no reason. And it was so draining. And I remember seeing a picture of, it was this parent, I don't remember if it was a mother or a father, but they were sitting with their son. And the TV was right in front of them. So you saw the parent was on one side and you saw the kid on the other. And they were sitting on the couch. And the parent was attempting to explain to their son about how to deal with the police. Like how do you make sure, what steps you need to take, if they ask you certain questions and, making sure that you go slow and reaching out to the glove compartment, or, making sure that they are aware of what you're doing. And even if you do all things right, the possibility of you still getting shot. And that was a powerful meme, and I was trying to find it. But
yes,
Tia, what do we say? What do we tell the parents on what to say, like now, in regards to their teenagers going to Sonic? One of my Facebook friends had posted about these kids that were in Texas. They went to the Sonic and they were just out hanging out on the outside, chilling, eating, and they were told that they needed to leave or they're going to call the police on them. And they were so scared and shook by that. It's the mere conversation, just now telling you we're going to call the police. I remember growing up, call the police. That was my experience. Go ahead and call the police. I dare you. I double dare you. I'm going to stand right here and wait, and then we'll all run out. But now it's not the case. It's like you're told, I'm going to call the police, and now it's like fear and fear for your life now. So it's like, can you please talk about that what do parents need to know and what to say in regards to their kids, their teenagers, if they want to go somewhere, they want to drive somewhere, and they may get pulled by the cops or have the cops called. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I think the first and most important thing is to have the conversation. I think a lot of parents, especially out here in California, they don't think it can happen to them. So, I hear a lot, well, we're in California, we're so progressive and, X, Y, and Z, but living in one of the most progressive areas out here, Valencia, I still feel like, okay, let me make sure that I'm not walking outside with my headscarf and, doing the whole mode. So, I think that it's going to be the start of that conversation of, as soon as they get their driver's license, that's what I tell my parents, as soon as they can hop in the car by themselves, make sure that you have like a list even of things that they need to do if they get pulled over, which is terrifying, and it shouldn't be that way. But I tell my parents, put that list in their car. It's the list of what happens if you get into a car accident and what happens if you get pulled over from the cop. But I hear that a lot where my parents are just like, why do I even have to have this conversation with him? It's not fair. And I tell my parents, unfortunately, we want to make sure that they are ready for the beast when it comes. And they still may not even be ready, but I have younger cousins and, we gave them the talk really early. We gave them the police talk. And the crazy thing about it is we have a significant amount of police officers in my family. So for them to sit down with their Black children and give their Black children the talk, that is insane to me. But they did. And I think that reminding the kids to not be aggressive in any way. So make sure that they're always kind of calling out what they're doing. And I always tell my teenagers, if you feel scared, put your mama on the phone. If you are ever in a situation where you are scared, call somebody. Make sure somebody can hear you. Make sure somebody can see you. You know, we're almost in essence getting our kids ready for battle. And a lot of the times we hear that kids are experiencing, especially teenage boys are experiencing trauma as if they are coming from battle, you know? So I tell my boys, you need to be ready. You need to understand and really listen to what your parents are telling you. You need to have a plan of action for yourself. And you need to understand that just because this has happened to you does not mean that you are a bad kid. I hear that a lot of internalization of I'm bad because I got pulled over by the police. I'm bad because, you know, I may have turned wrong or whatever that may be. I hear that a lot of internalization. So one thing that we drill in our kids' heads, no matter what, is it's not about you. It is a jacked up system and it's going to go against you. So make sure that you have all of your armor ready before you go out. And so my teen boys are really great at that. They, you know, they have their little list in the car and so they're getting prepped because at a young age, they know, and especially in LA, you can get stopped for anything out here. You could be walking and automatically you're a gang member. Yeah. You know, so it out here it's bad. We don't have a lot of killings, but you know, boys get profiled from the day that they're born, really. You know, I think about somebody like Samir Rice, who was 12 when he died, you know. The second he stepped foot into that park, you know, he was already a target. So we try to tell our boys, just be aware of your surroundings, be aware of who you hang out with, who you're with, all of those things. So we try to build awareness in them ahead of time before they go out into the world.
Definitely. You know what, just to piggyback on that, Tia, you know, even for myself personally, when I first got to Jersey, I moved here from Hawaii. When I first got to Jersey, I was really fortunate to have just meet an officer in the lounge. And I was like, you know, I keep getting pulled over for this and this. And he just gave me, like you're saying, you need a toolkit about exactly what to do when you get pulled over. So one of the things he personally recommended to me that I've noticed has made a difference. He's like, before they even get to your door, have all your information together, have it in hand. So when they come to the door, you give them right there. It's like, there's no, because he's like, you know, that's already a problem. Sometimes you're sitting in the chair and then you're reaching over. We know plenty of folks that have happened where they've gotten shot, where you're moving or you're resisting or you're doing something you're not supposed to. But just having the documents in hand, you don't have to reach for anything. It's immediately they come, here you go. And it's right. It's like, oh, okay, you don't have to. All right.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So it's always like you were ready, more prepared than I was prepared for you to be prepared. You know, so but having that toolbox, or like you're saying, just that awareness, or you know, that drill running constantly is really important. I completely agree. It's just because how do you manage? You're always preparing for when that does happen. So when it does, you're not caught off guard. So that's an excellent point.
Yeah. And it's frequent out here. Like I said, I've been in cars with, you know, my ex-boyfriend. He long dreads. He's from the Bay Area, so he's very E40, like, you know, dreads down to his butt. Has an Acura, has a master's degree, one of the smartest men I know. And literally every time we were in the car, because of what his car looks like, we got pulled over consistently. To the point where my ex ended up putting a bumper sticker that said that he had a master's degree on the back of his car so he would stop being a target. So it's really, really serious that we prep our boys and our girls. We have a lot of different conversations with our girls, because usually with the girls, it's who are you with more than, you know, you don't look as aggressive or anything. It's more so, who are you with? Who are you in the car with? Who are you in the house with? That's more of the conversation that we end up having with, especially our teenage girls, is always kind of be aware of who you're with. There was a celebrity recently whose sister was killed in Florida. And the sister was saying that, you know, we wish that we would have known who she was with, because they ended up killing her. And we tell our girls all the time, you need to be aware of who you get in the car with, who you're with, so that if something goes down, it's not going to fall back on you, whatever that may be. So, the toolkit is just, it's 100% necessary for both, male and female.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you all for that. And just want to give shout outs to everyone who's joining in. Thank you so much for everybody who are joining in this conversation, this needed conversation. Thank you for sharing it, because sharing is caring. Thank you so much, Crystal, April, Jennifer, Antoine, Christian, Charles, Tito. The list goes on. Danny's group. Look, my apologies, y'all, with this whole technical stuff. But look, if y'all have any questions or comments, y'all can just build it and feed it in. Danny, if they can reach you by, private message, just go ahead.
Right.
If they have any
Yes.
So anyone have any questions, y'all can make sure that y'all put in the comment section. We're going to put it out there. And this is a better way of what you can do too in sharing. You can put the hashtag the talk. Put in the comment section, hashtag the talk. Y'all make sure all week you are putting out there hashtag the talk, so that people can come to the replay. People can come and now know what they can do to help themselves and their kids out. A question came up for me, Tia. Have you had any pushback from the kids? Meaning, let's say, for the parents and their parents, the parents are trying to tell their kids, like, look, this is what it is. This is what's real. And I don't want to lose you. I was just listening to my pastor. He was talking about this. So he has a 13-year-old son, 13, 14 years old. And he was so concerned about him riding his bike, leaving out of their house and just, riding in the development or wherever they live. And he, it's like he yelled at him, or he was like, in fear. He didn't want him to go anywhere because he was so concerned that may be the last time that he sees him. And that's real. And let's say if the kids, push back in terms of like, well, why are you tripping? Dad, why are you tripping, Mom? It's not that big of a deal, because they just don't see it. And I'm not even going to discredit. I'm sure a lot of the kids are seeing it, and it's like however they're processing it, but because psychologically, maybe it's just too much, and that's how they're taking it. They're either in denial. They don't want to accept that that's what it is. It's kind of messing with the image that what they thought America was, or the image that they thought that they were somebody, which they are, but because of how America is right now, it's kind of, messing up with their psyche. So what do you tell the parents where their kids are like, look, Mom, don't worry about it. I'm good. I'm grown at 14. I'm grown.
My favorite line. You know what? I get that a lot too. I hear a lot of, I'm grown. I can do what I want to. I know this. I know that. And so I tell my parents, make it tangible. Give them something that they can see, give them something. And this right now is perfect for kids, because they're teenagers, especially because they see it. They saw an unarmed Black man basically die at the hands of a police officer for doing nothing, or for being arrested for something small. So they get that tangible. I say this a lot with kids when I talk about like getting in the car with other people, drunk driving, things like that. And I share stories of friends. I had a friend who passed away recently from drunk driving. So, it's more tangible for them than, don't do this, don't do that. Because the second you start yelling at them and get in the house, you need to be in the house, you start nagging, they shut down. They don't want to hear that. They're not interested in hearing you yell and scream. So I tell parents, give it to them in tangible form, but also give it to them in a time where you guys are at peace with each other, or they're not going out, they're not going out to ride their bike or whatever. You guys are just outside doing stuff. Have the talk with them at that point, when their defenses are down, when their guard is down, because that's when we know that kids, specifically teenagers, tend to intake more information. It's when they're kind of in a space of relax, or, you guys are watching a movie. That's why, like I said, I love The Hate U Give. I love Fruitvale Station for teaching kids, because I feel like it gives them a tangible view, and then you can have the discussion after it's over, for saying like, hey, this is what this person went through, or whatever that may be. So I tell my parents, make sure that when you're having these conversations, you're not doing it right before they're ready to go out, because they care more about going out than they care about what you're saying right now. You done gave them that $30 to go out. Their friends are outside waiting, and you're trying to give them the talk now. They're not trying to hear you. So I tell my parents, make sure that when you're giving the talk, it's in a space where they can clearly hear you. Because I guarantee you, 99.9% of the time, they hear you. I hear that a lot in therapy. My teenagers will say, I was ready to do this, but then I thought about what you said and I was like, never mind. So when you give it to them in a space that's open where they can process the information, you're way better off than doing it right when they're ready to go outside to ride their bike. So then when they are ready to go out, you can just give them the simple, hey, remember what we talked about? And then they can have that on their mind still, but not like the overdrive of, I want to go out and you're forcing me to have this conversation right now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I had my girlfriend Stacy, she made a comment and she said, I think it's important with their kids, but at a level they can understand what you had already spoken to. And parents have to remember it's important to talk with kids, but cannot overload them with so much. It can cause more harm than good. So how do you make sure that you're planning, guess the right amount of information, but not necessarily over pouring or drowning them in, like, trying to drive a point home?
Yeah. Make it very conversational. Like I said, do it in a space where it's not, you have to learn about this, but I'm going to teach you it in bits and pieces. We learned in my family about, police brutality and things like that in bits and pieces where, something would happen and, I have an uncle who starts talking about, well, this happened to me and, this is what we need to be aware of or whatever. It wasn't like, here's your talk, there you go, we're dead, because once they're overloaded, they can care less what they say. And then I think also parents have to be understanding that the child's frontal lobe is not developed until the late 20s. So the frontal lobe is the part of the brain that holds the executive functioning. So the judgment calls, the justice, things like that. So they don't really have that for a very long time. So my parents are like, well, why don't they listen to me? And I'm like, they probably don't even know why. So I tell my parents, give them bite-sized pieces because what you're doing is you're enacting that frontal lobe to kind of start working, but you cannot give it at one time because it's not developed enough to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tia. Here's the last question that I have for you. And everyone, again, thank you so much for y'all tuning in. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing this out. Thank you for putting down the hashtag, the talk, because we wanted to make sure that we get this. What's going on back there?
We're like in elementary school.
Okay, we got too much energy going on. And, look, for me, being my age, it's already past my bedtime. But because about, some bubbly people, and especially, for Tia, it's like what? Going into the evening right now for her. And
yeah, it's 6:30 here.
Okay.
It's so light outside for us.
Oh, so nice.
Show it. Okay.
We still got the light outside.
We just want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for sharing this out. Thank you for putting out the hashtag, the talk, so that all week long we're going to talk about how do we help our kids out? How do we help you parents out in having this needful conversation in regards to racism, the police? How do we help our kids out in processing and being safe, being protected? Antoine has said, which again, he's joining us on Friday of the time of this recording. He said, beautiful discussion and very useful info for the parents, Tia. So he's thanking you for that.
Thank you.
So
excited to watch yours on Friday.
He said, come on, neuroscience.
Yes, God.
Hey, Dyron, thank you for tuning in from Florida. I guess you're in Florida. Thank you for tuning in. So last question that I have, and then we open it up for final questions, and then we're going to have this conversation on Wednesday. We bring on Diana, who's going to also continue the conversation, Diana Andre, who's going to help us to continue to have this conversation in regards to how do we talk to our kids in regards to racism and the police. So make sure that y'all tune in on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that we can continue to have the conversation. But you're going to be stuck with me and Danny on Tuesday and Thursday as we continue to have the conversation in regards to trauma, how to process the trauma, how do we as adults deal with our own trauma, the tiredness and more, and whatever news is going to come up. Danny always is great with the news and being able to how to address it. And and just making sure that we are all better prepared as we move in the next day. past the 8 days, as it was said that, usually after 8 days, things seem to calm down. We move on to the next news, but we're not moving anywhere. We're going to make sure that we keep this conversation on and popping until we see change absolutely happen. So that said, Tia, so at the end of the day, final tips and thoughts that you can share with us, with the parents, with the kids who are watching, in regards to whether just reiterating like the signs and symptoms that we need to notice or take notice if they're bothered with what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, how to help them to process or talk about it or express it in other ways, and what are next steps? Like, what do we do? And I bring that up because I saw an article on TMZ about a lawyer, a white lawyer, who this was where I don't want to mistake where it was. I think it was in Wisconsin, maybe. I don't want to mistake where it was, but it was peaceful protest. And so having that was a young black guy, black teen, that she's mad and everything, and she spit at him. She spit in his face, and they intercepted, like, people that was a part of the protest. They intercepted. The young man didn't react. He didn't, wasn't ready to do anything. Regardless of popular belief, it's the fact that he maintained himself. She was the one that was acting belligerent and beside herself.
Doing the most.
Her doing the most. Her to spit in his face. And he maintained his composure. And she ended up getting arrested, but it took the fact that she, after though, they said that she called the cops on herself because she feared her life, because the protesters did find her house. The protesters did find her house. They didn't do anything to her. They just were there, and so she won for the sake of her own safety. But she ended up kicking one of the police officers in the groin, and that is how she ended up getting arrested.
Now, is this the young lady is black?
The teenager is a young black male. And a white woman who's having to be like some type of attorney or lawyer spit in his face. Wow. So when I don't, like I said, he maintained his composure. And I don't know though, we don't know how he may have taken that. Like, this is his first, let's say this is his first protest and everything. And it's like, this is what happens. So so I guess the question is, final tips from you in regards to, it's real with racism, it's real with what's going on with the police. What do we tell our parents and our kids in regards to being able to assess when, because let's say if he doesn't say anything, he keeps it to himself, like, how do we help him to talk, or just tips that we can, share towards, as we wrap this up, on how people can assess what's going on with their kids, how to help them to talk or express themselves, and what's next.
I think the most and foremost important thing is, especially for this little one, he's still a little one even though he's a teenager, is the parents doing those check-ins to make sure that he's okay. And a lot of the teenagers will say, oh, I'm fine, I don't care, like, it didn't matter, blah, blah, blah. And so I tell my parents it's okay to validate that for them. I can validate that it probably was scary for you that this happened, or that's not fair, because what will happen is he'll say, I'm fine. And the parents are like, all right, he's fine. And then he is really struggling. So I think parents need to really learn how to validate the experiences of children, just like we want to be validated as Black people. We want our experience to be validated. So it's important to teach that to your children and to do that with your children, to validate how scary this experience could be, how it's not fair that because of how you look, people are, picking on you or making you feel bad or trying to touch your hair. It doesn't matter what it is, validating that frustration, and then giving kids the outlet to be able to express those frustrations, whether it's, they go to a group where there are other Black children who can, rally around them as well, or, their therapist is Black. I see a lot of Black kids, which I love it. But, you know, there has to be somebody there to validate that experience for them, or else they're going to keep tucking it to the side and it's not happening, it doesn't exist. And then it's going to come out in rage. So it's going to come out, look at how that lady looks. Because why was she that angry that she needed to spit on a child, you know? So we don't want them to have the same reaction, you know? So again, it comes with that education, it comes with the validation, because I can only imagine if somebody spit on me, I would want to go fight. And so I think just reminding them that we are better than that. You know, we don't have to make our points made in anger or frustration. Her point was made, but everybody else made his point for it. You know, so the protesters found her house and all that good stuff. I don't condone violence. However, his point was made. So I think just remembering that it's going to take a lot of processing, checking in, validating. And even if they're saying, I'm fine, okay, you know, just still validating. Like, I hear that you're okay. I still worry about you, though. And if you need to talk, I'm present, but not pushing too hard because we don't want them to back away. Some other tips I would recommend if you have smaller children. Sesame Street did an incredible town hall last week for the littles, as I call them. It was Elmo and his dad, and I guess I found out Elmo was white. So are he technically white? I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know, but it was a real shock to me. But they showed him having a conversation with his dad about what was going on, and his dad did an excellent job of explaining it. He basically said, you know, somebody was mean to someone because of the color of their skin, you know, and I'm like, yes, Elmo, love Sesame Street. I'm a big Sesame Street person just because I love them. But those are ways to have the conversations with your younger kids on, you know, what's going on, what they can do to be a part of it. I have a godson, and one thing that we decided to do was we decided to take water out to the protesters so that he could feel like he was a part of it, but he didn't have to be out in the protest, you know? So just allowing them, if they're saying, I want to be a part, I want to do something, you know, just giving them little jobs to do. They can write cards to people, just whatever it is. Just so, again, you're validating that part of them that wants to be a part of it.
Right.
Awesome. Look, that was amazing. Everything that you shared, Tia. Thank you so much for really helping our audience on what to do in regards to having this conversation on racism in the police. And I definitely want to make sure that before we go, everyone, they're giving y'all the hearts and likes. So all the hearts are coming your way, Tia.
Love, I love the love. Now I can go to bed.
Yes. So everyone, thank you so much. Y'all can make sure that you hashtag this out, the talk, hashtag the talk. You share it out. Sharing is caring. We thank you so much for tuning in. You make sure that you check out your local listings. I check out my Facebook page when you find out what else is coming up this week. You have, and then you're not stuck with us. This is what we love to do. You know, we want to be a blessing to you. In regards to making sure that you're well informed during these times, and making sure that you check out yourself, like making sure that you have your own self-care, to acknowledge your own feelings, acknowledge and admit how you're really feeling, you know, whether you're fearful, whether you're scared, whether you're worried, whether you just don't know what to do. Look, it's time for you to to rest, recenter, and relax, relate, release. And so that now you can be just as healthy as you want to make sure that your child is healthy. You got to make sure that you're healthy as well. So look, y'all know how to reach out to me. You know how to contact me in terms of having the conversation and seeing how we can help you in processing. I want to ask Tia, though, how do they reach out to you in regards to, if they need more information, or if they really want to see, depending on where you are and how you do with your counseling services, if they want your kids to see you. So please, if you could share with us, how do they reach out to you?
Yes. So as far as social media, I'm only an Instagram person. You can find me at the Therapy Grind. I'm actually a teacher for other therapists, so you can find me at the Therapy Grind. But as far as reaching me, you can find me at Tia, TIA, Briscoe, BRISCOLMFT.com. And that has all of my contact information. I am licensed in California. I do provide mental health services to kiddos online. So kind of via video. You guys are in my playroom right now. But yeah, I'm available via then, and I take children anywhere from 3 years old to 17. So a lot of recent grads.
Awesome.
Recent Black grads, by the way. Yay to my little Black grads.
Snap, 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 right? All right. Thank you so much, Tia. Danny, as always, thank you so much for helping me to hold it down, you know.
Yes, Danny.
Yes.
Presence at this time. And again, everybody, thank you so much for showing up, because this would not be possible if you did not show up. So thank you so much for entrusting us, you know, with your care and giving you the information that is necessary for us to all know how to advance in adversity. So, hey, y'all, I'm going to bed. Y'all have a great night. This is
Good night.
We will see y'all same place.